Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Preston here from Bull City Reader, and welcome to this week's video. The day I'm recording this is the day after my Jaguars freaking beat up on the Patriots, or the Cheatriots as non-Patriots fans call them. So I had to represent today. So excited for what the season's going to bring. I think we're going to the Super Bowl this year, man. We've got a good team, but you're not here for that. You don't care about that. You're here because the description below tells you that today I'm finishing up the series that we started 4 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, this is the 4th video, but anyway.
Today we are doing the top 5 authors that are traditionally published, ranked on my TBR by GoodReads. There's no need for really, a big long spiel for the introduction. We're just going to jump into it here. The criteria for the books were the same that I've had the whole time. For those that might not have watched the other videos, I'll put links down below for those other videos. They needed to have 10 reviews, which isn't too hard for traditionally published authors. Needed to have 10 reviews, and it could not be a book in a series that was not book 1. If it was book 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, it could not be in my top 5. It had to be book 1. So with all that being said, let's just jump on into it.
Book number 5.
So for those that also I forgot to mention, we're going to be going from 5 to 1. Of course, 1 being the highest ranked of the top 5. So book 5, I'm not really surprised that this author is in this list. This author is very popular in the genre that he writes in. I'm surprised he finished 5th. I kind of thought he might be a little bit higher, honestly. But anyway, the book that is number 5 on the list is Mistborn by Sanderson. This is the cover that you will find in bookstores. If you go to your science fiction section, this is more than likely the book cover that you will find. There is another cover. I absolutely love it, and I got it as a gift for Christmas from, it was either my brother-in-law or my mother-in-law. I can't remember. These covers, though, I found these covers in the YA section of the bookstore that I went to at the time. So if you like these covers and they're not in your science fiction section, check the YA, because I think they also marketed this as a YA novel. So with all that being said, I'm just going to have to cheat with these numbers. I have them written down over here. Mistborn has been ranked on GoodReads 283,902 times. And of all that, it is averaging 4.44 stars or whatever as a rating on GoodReads. I'm just going to hold this cover up more because I like it. If I remember the description of this book right, based on what I know others have said, this is kind of a fantasy it's a fantasy story, but it's kind of like a heist. This is one series that people say if you're trying to jump into Sanderson, this is one of the series they recommend you start with. All of his books, except for his YA, he has a YA series, and I think that's the only one. All of his books take place in the same, how it was described to me, in the same universe, but each series is on a different planet, is how you can look at it. I have heard there is one character that appears in like every book. I don't think the character has a name. So there are places you should jump into Sanderson's works. This is one of them. You can read this one. I know a lot of people recommend you start off reading this one. The synopsis for this book says, once the hero rose to save the world, he failed. For 1,000 years since, the world has been a wasteland of ash and mist ruled by the immortal emperor known as the Lord Ruler. Every revolt has failed miserably, yet somehow hope survives. Hope that dares to dream of ending the empire and defeating the Lord Ruler. A new kind of uprising is being planned, one that depends on the cunning of a brilliant criminal mastermind and the determination of an unlikely heroine, a teenage street urchin named Vin. Where a hero rose to save the world and failed, can a young hero succeed? Now, I will say, I have started reading this book. I want to say at one point, I think I had gotten about halfway through. Great from what I read, but since I haven't finished it, it's on my TBR since, I haven't finished it. The writing is great. He really pulls you into the story, and the magic system that he created this is really cool. I don't want to give away too much about anything, but if you're a fan of fantasy, have thought about getting into fantasy, this would probably be a good place to jump in at with Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson.
Book number 4.
So book number 4 is a female author that is pretty popular, and this is probably going to give away who it is. She's popular in the YA, like fantasy kind of world, but I found it kind of interesting that she was in my top 5 because it seems like people either really love her or really hate her. I don't think there's too much in between. So the 4th book on my list is going to be The Assassin's Blade. As you can see on the bottom there, it says it is a Thorn of Glass. The Thorn of Glass novellas. So The Assassin's Blade has 84,777 ratings on GoodReads, and it's averaging 4.46 stars. When I googled how people recommended you read this series, a lot of people did recommend that you start with the novellas, even though she didn't put them out first. She put out, like, I think a couple of the books before. I've heard that this does give some good backstory going into the world, and giving you a good feel for introducing to the character as you jump into the world. The synopsis on the back of this book says, I'm probably going to say the character's name wrong, by the way. Selena Sardothian is her kingdom's most feared assassin. Though she works for the powerful Assassins Guild, she yields to no one and trusts only her fellow kill-for-hire Sam. When Selena's scheming master, Arobin Hamel, dispatches her on missions that take her from the remote islands to hostile deserts, she finds herself acting independently of his wishes and questioning her own allegiance. She will have to risk it all if she hopes to escape Arobian's clutches, and if she fails, she'll lose not just a chance at freedom, but her life. And like it says on the back here, this is a prequel to Thorn of Glass, and it's just a deeper look into the history that leads up into that series. So like I said, Sarah J. Maas, The Assassin's Blade, it seems people either really love her or hate her, but apparently more people love her because she is number 4 on my list.
Book number 3.
So book number 3 is a book that I know that I do want to read. It sounds very good. My wife wants to read it. She's been told it's very good. The people I know that have read it really enjoyed it. So book number 3 is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This cover is just beautiful. The first time I saw it, I thought it was just a crow on the cover. You can see here. But if you actually look, in between the feathers is a town. I thought that was very cool that they did that. I love the painted edges of the book. I don't know, it's just... And then behind the cover, they put a little crow on the hardback. I love it when people put stuff on the cover of hardbacks. I think it's a nice extra little treat for you when you buy a book. Six of Crows also takes place in the Grisha universe that she created. I have that as well. If you've read that series and this series, let me know down below. Do I need to read her Grisha trilogy before I read this series? I've heard you don't, but I just want to hear your take. If it made the experience any better if you did read the other series first, or if you didn't, did it not matter? Just kind of curious. This is also another very popular book in the YA fantasy. This is also kind of a heist story from what I've been told. So the synopsis for the book reads, Catterdam, a bustling hub of international trade where anything can be had for the right price. And no one knows that better than criminal prodigy Kaz Brecker. Kaz has offered a chance at a deadly heist that could make him rich beyond his wildest dreams. But he can't pull it off alone. A convict with a thirst for revenge, a sharpshooter who can't walk away from a wager, a runaway with a privileged past, a spy known as the Wrath, a heart trender using her magic to survive the slums, a thief with a gift for unlikely escapes. Kaz's crew are the only ones who might stand between the world and destruction if they don't kill each other first. I just realized I didn't tell you about the ratings on GoodReads. This book has 162,543 ratings on GoodReads, averaging a 4.46. Book 3, Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo.
Book number 2.
So book number 2, I'm really not surprised it's on my list or ranked where it is on GoodReads. It doesn't surprise me at all. It might not surprise you either once I tell you who it is. This book had an insane amount of reviews done on GoodReads, rankings on GoodReads. The number of people that have ranked the book, just, I did a double take when I saw it. I doubt I have any other book. I'll have to go see if there's a way for me to list it by number of rankings. I doubt I have any book that has more rankings. I don't know if there would be. There might be some out there with more rankings. But anyway, book number 2 on my list is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Like I said, this book has an insane amount of reviews. This book on GoodReads has 542,076 reviews, and of that, over 500,000 rankings on GoodReads. It is averaging a 4.55 out of 5 stars. That to me is just mind-blowing that many people have ranked the book and given it that high of a ranking. I have started to read this book a couple times. I've gotten about 100 pages in, and that's when the story really starts. This story has a very unique way of telling itself. So the synopsis for this book on the mass market paperback reads, "My name is Kavoth. I have stolen princesses back from sleeping Barrow kings. I burned down the town of Trebon. I spent the night with Felurian and left with both my sanity and my life. I was expelled from the university at a younger age than most people are allowed in. I tread paths by moonlight that others fear to speak of during day. I have talked to gods, loved women, and written songs to make the minstrels weep. You may have heard of me." So begins a tale unequaled in fantasy literature, the story of a hero told in his own voice. It is a tale of sorrow, a tale of survival, a tale of one man's search for meaning in his universe, and how that search and the indomitable will that drove it gave birth to a legend. This book is beloved by people in the fantasy world. With what I have started listening to and reading of the book, it is a great book. It just, at the time, wasn't for me, but I remember loving everything that I read and listened to. There is a certain version of the book that I recommend you buy if you're going to buy this book. I mean, the mass market paperback's great because it's easy to carry and take with you. But if you can spare the extra money, I highly recommend you get the 10th anniversary. It is a beautiful, beautiful hardback book. Like I said, it's hardback. It's its 10th anniversary. It's got a different cover on it. It's got a little word written there on the cover. I'm not 100% sure what it means since I haven't read the whole book. It's got painted edges as well. There's all this extra stuff in here that you don't get in the paperback. I mean, just right in the hardback, you got letters. There are sketches throughout the book. I'm trying to see if I can find one to show you. The sketches in the book are just absolutely beautiful. There's sketches throughout. At the end of the book, Patrick Rothfuss, the author, goes into more detail of the world if you're interested in it. I'm trying to get to it so I can tell you. I mean, that's the sketch that's back by after the epilogue. Author's note at the end, which is, I think, a little bit longer than what's in the paperback. It's going to focus. He talks about the seeds of the empire. There's a detailed map of the empire. He talks about the currency, the calendar years. Here's a little thing where it's about currency, about what everything's worth. He just goes into a whole lot more detailing of the world that he has created with this book. It does sound like it could be a scary book, but I'm telling you, as someone who is scared to read fantasy, even though I want to read more fantasy, this book was not hard to understand or get into. The audiobooks just as great as reading the book, so that could help you get through it as well. So anyway, guys, I guess I'm done gushing on this. Just know that there are 3 books in the series. Only 2 are out. I think it's been like 7 years since book 2 came out, so people are like, yo man, where's the final book? I think it's supposed to be a trilogy. So, but I'm done gushing on this book. It's, if you want to get into fantasy, if you think you might like fantasy, highly, highly, highly recommend this book.
Book number 1.
So book number 1 is, to get to number 1 on the list, when I ranked my Goodreads rankings from highest rank to lowest, it actually took me like 3 pages to finally get to a traditionally published author and the book not be part of a series and not be book 1. There are a lot of book 3s and 4s. Several independent authors also showed up in there. They didn't have many reviews. But it took me a few pages to finally get to book number 1. I guess I'm not too surprised that the book is where it is, because there's a movie coming out based on the book, and the book is also supposed to be an amazing book, from what I've heard. I don't know if I've heard anybody that has read it that didn't love the book. So the book is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This is going to be another one of those books that's just kind of hard to get in here because of all the white on the cover. I got the exclusive collector's edition. It was at Barnes & Noble. So I was just in the stores this weekend, and there was another cover for the collector's edition at Barnes & Noble. I actually liked it better. The cover's gold. I've pulled it up on my phone here. Let's see if I can get it to show up. But it's a gold cover. It doesn't sound like, based on the description that they give, it doesn't sound like there's any extra special stuff in that one that's not in here. So if you have this collector's edition, there's no need to go out and get that one unless you just like the cover that much more. There's letters from the author in here, the meaning behind names that she gave the characters, and there's this stuff, and I don't know if this is in the regular edition because I didn't look. I wanted the collector's edition. But inside the hardback, just right on the inside, there's this. And then in the back of the book is this. On the back, on the jacket, it tells you what's in the collector's edition. There's a letter from the author, an excerpt from the stories that inspired the novel, a map of Garden Heights, which is where the book takes place, the meaning behind the names and The Hate You Give, plus there's 6 pieces of fan art, and then a sneak peek of her upcoming novel on the come up. So for those that don't know, this book follows our main character, Star. Star lives, as it says on the back, in Garden Heights, which is, I guess, a not so good part of town. She doesn't go to the public school there. I think it said something in the movie trailer. Star said something like, schools where you go to, was it get pregnant? And I can't remember what it was, but Star made it sound like the public school wasn't very good there. She goes to a private school. She plays basketball there. She said the Star that goes to that school is different from the Star when she's at home and hanging around her friends. She goes to a party one night. She leaves with her friend Khalil. They're driving home. They get pulled over on the way home, and somehow Khalil ends up dead. And the book follows the aftermath of Khalil being shot and killed. I like what it says at the end of the synopsis. It says, what everyone wants to know is what really went down that night, and the only person alive who can answer that is Star. But what Star does or does not say could destroy her community. It could also endanger her life. It says, Angie Thomas's searing debut about an ordinary girl in extraordinary circumstances addresses the issue of racism and police violence with intelligence, heart, and unflinching honesty. The book sounds amazing. It sounds like it's going to give, a perspective of what African Americans go through with police. I haven't read the book, so I can't. I'm hoping the book gives me a perspective that maybe I don't understand that well. and it sounds like it does. I don't know a lot of people that have read this book that didn't like it or didn't love it. So I recommend you read this book. I recommend you go see the movie. The movie looks fantastic. I'm sure the book's going to be, you know, they always say the book's better than the movie. So I'm sure the book's probably going to be just as powerful, if not more powerful than the movie itself. So The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Well, guys, that's it. We have reached the end of this little series that I did, GoodReads ranking my TBR. Let me know down below which books in my top 5 traditionally published authors, which books grabbed your attention the most. Is there some that you haven't heard of before that you want to read now? Have you read any of them? Do you, let me know what you think about any of them if you've read them. Comment down below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that, wonderful good stuff. Until next time, guys, keep reading, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.